Alright, it's 2021 now, so we're prepping for the new plot. I'm just getting all the sod staples up, pulling up the landscape cloth. I'm going to roll them up, stash them someplace, and come out here, knock all these rows and alleys over, flatten everything out. I think I'm going to shift rows over one, and might go back to 4 rows. We'll see. But, yeah. Not planning to change anything about this other than add a deer fence and make these flat, get rid of all these perennials, do new plantings for everything. So, the blood, sweat, and tears begin again. Well, got those 4 done, and it's kind of interesting to see how dry the dirt is. So it's clear that water was not permeating all that well through that cloth, or at least it was boiling off pretty heavily. But the soil is very soft, which is nice, so I think that kind of makes up for it in a way. I'm sure there's still a lot of moisture down there, and yeah, there's a lot of bleached Florida Betony here, so I'm sure that'll green up here nicely, or terribly. Well, it's finally time to start working on the cotton plot again. Lola's over here providing me moral support. Neighbors are out probably getting groceries or something, and she's sad and lonely, so she's over here bothering me. And here's my ramshackle tiller that I had to borrow from a cousin and then immediately broke and then have been trying to fix for the last 2 months. And I finally got it running, I think. Maybe had to replace a chain in the chain drive. That was a whole process. Anyway, we're going to get this thing fired up and we're going to start tilling. And I should have been doing this like 2 months ago, but such is life. Alright, tiller's ready. Lola's ready. Hopefully she doesn't hate the sound of a gas-operated tiller and go mad and get her face torn off trying to rip the tines off, but hopefully that doesn't happen. And yeah, just gonna fire her up and get right on to it. About to get loud. Back it on up. Well, I'd say that works. Lola thinks it works. And I'm going to see what I can get done today without accidentally running over Lola or covering her in dirt, because I'm sure the neighbors will love that. Well, we got nearly half the cotton plot done. Lola's been following me, trying to get her face stuck in the tiller and eating crickets. Yeah, I gotta come back in and get this bottom end done and get the other half done. But snapped the handle off the tiller there at the very last second. Pulled it up, parked it, threw the handle forward, snapped it off. So, still use it, it's just pain in the butt now. Can't really, just kind of have to jam the old mitts in there. We'll figure something out later, but not today. I'm just gonna leave it as is and then probably take a foot off and finish tilling. And yeah, then go put this someplace else because it's starting to come down now. Nice and tilled. Nice and tilled. All right, we done tilled up 5 rows. And I didn't come back with the tiller because I realized after I stopped, I didn't get to do the last pass I wanted to do, but I realized it left 5 basically preformed rows. And I was gonna seize that opportunity if I could. This one's a little short, but this is the indigo one anyway, so actually I don't think we're doing indigo again this year, but it's sort of lowest priority anyway. And yeah, I've just come by with the cotton hoe and I've just basically scraped all the excess out of the valleys, piled it up on top, and I'm gonna go back and just sort of push in the edges like this just a little bit so it's not as deep, and then we'll be ready to put down fabric. I think I will get out the push mower that I have and just run it down the alleys, not on, but just, well, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to breathe all this sand, but push it down the alleys, just make sure that we have enough width. I think we should be perfect, and we should be ready to throw the fabric back down on it. I may put up the deer fence today, I may not, don't know, but I'm definitely not going to put down the fabric today because it is nat o'clock, and the second I get my face down there on that sand, sand gnats are going to be on me like, well, like white on rice. I was gonna say something else involving excrement, but yeah, I'm not going to subject myself to that today because I have a mower to fix and cottonage in. But I'm going to spend those last 30 minutes I got trying to smush in these edges, just try and see how I've got these 2 really high spots on the outside from the tiller path, because the tiller ran down like that, and where the tines were on the outside, that's where it pushed everything out. And I'm just going to try and push them in just a little bit, just knock it down. Not a lot, just take like the top 1.5 to 2 inches and just push it towards the center so that it ends up looking something a little closer to this last one over here, which I have already done mostly that on. Then I'll try and get a little valley going in the middle like that, maybe not quite that deep. And I think we'll call it there for today. And with any luck, we'll get a rainstorm, it'll settle in, put the fabric down, and it'll all be peachy keen, and it'll be just in time to plant here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm gonna shut up and get to it before I run out of daylight or steam. There we go. That's all 5 of them. Ignore how wiggly that one is. So, don't know about you, but I think that looks like a good 2-foot width. Got the rows down in height a fair bit because we don't need them for drainage too much. Water table here doesn't really get any higher than about 2 foot below ground level, so I don't think we're going to need too much in the way of drainage like I originally thought. And yeah, I think this should do really well. Not as much effort as the last 2 years, even with the rototiller. I think it was still easier getting these formed. So I'm gonna have to remember that for next year. And yeah, next step's gonna be putting down the fabric. We'll probably come out here and put down some amendments. I think I'm probably just going to scatter some 10-10-10 or maybe some ammonium sulfate, muriate of potash. Don't really know yet. I gotta think on it a little bit. Hadn't really put much thought into it this season. If you can't tell, this is sort of way on the back burner because we're doing all sorts of other things around these parts. So cotton's kind of at the back end of it. Also, I've mostly got everything figured out, so I don't need to put as much brain power into it. I think I might line up the corners for the deer fence today, but I think that's going to be the end of it because we're creeping up at 5 o'clock and the gnats are coming out and I can feel them on the back of my elbow right now. With a bit of the old driver action, we got the 4 stakes in, got them ever so slightly canted outward, drove them to roughly 6 foot. They're whatever height I am, within 3 inches. Last I checked I was 6. And yeah, just gonna string up fishing line in between these at about 8 inches, or I think it was 3 or 4 of these nubs down here. I don't know what spacing they're at. And yeah, just 30-pound monofilament the whole way around. And then I'm gonna add white stringers to it, which is kind of counterproductive to what I'm trying to do to keep the deer out, but keeps me from walking into it, keeps the landscaper from walking into it, keeps visitors from walking into it, keeps me from walking into it, more so than anything. Somebody opened my bluebird box. I gotta fix that. And yeah, that's all I'm doing today. Gonna huck this back in the car, hightail it out of here, head home, drink some beer, come back, finish it up next week. All right, plot's had a little bit of time to settle. Looks like it didn't rain, even though it rained like a son of a gun everywhere off island. And today we're going to be applying fertilizers. So this is our selection today. I'm not being as, particular as I was in previous years. I think with how thin and sandy the soil is, we have the capacity to over-fertilize without damage. So in an effort to try and get the most bang for my buck, I think I'm just going to over-fertilize this year. Oh, and this plot is 1/30 of an acre nominally. That's what we're going with. It's a little bit more. So anyway, I'm trying to remember what I did last year. I believe last year I did 1 whole bag of urea, which I think is a 5-pound bag. And then we had 10 pounds of sulfur. What was it? 1 pound? Half a pound of boron. And I don't think I'm going to apply boron granularly. I don't think it's worth the effort. I think I'm just going to apply that straight to the plants. And I'm also going to apply some of that stuff which contains boron. We should have enough boron, it's just these plants are picky. So anyway, we're going to do a whole sack of urea. And then we need 10 pounds of sulfur per acre. So we're going to split that between those two guys. So I think we're going to err towards the manganese. I believe 10 pounds an acre of sulfur is 5 ounces. So we have to find the equivalent for that at a manganese sulfate, whatever the weight, percent weight of that is sulfur. Apply that much. I don't know what I did in previous years. I think I did 7 ounces to the plot. That might have been the first year. So what we're going to try and do is probably 10 ounces of that. We're not at the point where we're going to be seeing manganese toxicity levels. Then we'll make up the rest of that with that. I'm just going to liberally scatter some all-purpose plant food. I find that stuff 9 times out of 10, if you've got a good media and you have decent soil to start out with, you just apply a crazy amount of that and you're usually golden. We're going to be a little bit more technical this go around, and we're also going to throw down some muriate potash. Don't know how much I need. I think I'm going to look up my soil tests just to get my pound ratings, but we'll throw that in to make up any difference in potassium that we don't get from that guy. So anyway, I'm gonna get to doing math while I get eaten by gnats. And all right, so I did some math, and here's what we're coming up with. So we're shooting for 93 pounds an acre of nitrogen, 7.5 pounds an acre of phosphorus, 15 pounds an acre of potassium. Ignore the boron, it's basically nothing. That's just traces in there. Just a hair under 10 pounds an acre of manganese, and just a hair over 12 pounds an acre of sulfur. Because sulfur is very volatile, so we can over-fertilize with that, and it shouldn't be a problem, hopefully. We always seem to have sulfur deficiency, so I'm fine with over-fertilizing. Same goes with nitrogen. And yeah, we'll have to do a follow-up application of boron, but we probably don't need to add anything else to it. And yeah, that's what we're going for. So I've done the math, and that's 50 ounces of nitrogen, 4 ounces of phosphorus, 8 ounces of potassium, trace boron, about 5 ounces of manganese, and about 6.5 ounces of sulfur that we're physically going to be putting onto this roughly 1,500 square foot plot. Actually, it is basically exactly 1,500 square foot. And these are the amounts that we're going to be adding of all the fertilizers. Just this whole bag of Vigoro, this whole bag of urea, a quarter pound, or what's that, 4 ounces of muriate of potash. That's take it or leave it, but I've got it here, and could always use more potassium in these soils, so we'll scatter some on there. We'll do about just a fistful per row, just for added flavor. And let's see, 12, let's see, wrong thing. A whole pound of ammonium sulfate, don't know if I wrote that right, so ignore that. And a whole pound of manganese sulfate. So I'm gonna go find something I can scoop with, and we'll try and add this stuff on there. So not a whole lot when you think about how many rows, and I think I'm just going to apply no, I'm not doing indigo, so we're going to have to do all 5 rows. So I have to divvy all of these up by about 5. So when you think about it, that's like 1 pound per row, 1 pound per row, just a couple ounces per row, and just 1 ounce per row is basically all it's going to get. And I'm going to try err on the side of over-fertilization, just because I don't think we're at risk for toxicity levels with how well this soil drains. Shouldn't be an issue, I hope. And just like that, we've got the fertilizer down. Probably took me way too long to do that because I had 3 groups of people show up and I had to talk to them about cotton for about an hour. But finally got it done. We did manganese sulfate, then ammonium sulfate, then the muriate of potash, then the Vigoro, then the urea. And put down both 5-pound bags, about roughly a pound, 5 scoops of the ammonium sulfate and the manganese sulfate, and 1 scoop of muriate of potash for the lot of it. And yeah, doesn't really look like I put too much down, personally. I think I might go grab the stirrup hoe and just sort of knock some dirt down in the middle of this just so that it's covered up, so it doesn't blow away. And hopefully we got some rain coming, and that should beat this on down in here a little bit, hopefully. Then hopefully at the end of this week I'll be able to get the fabric down and the fence up, and maybe even put seed in the ground. I may wait until the following week to put seed in the ground. We shall see. Alright, landscape fabric time. And we got the fabric mostly down. We're short about 10 foot over there and about 2 foot over there. But one of my volunteers said he's got some spare landscape fabric lying around, so hopefully he's got about 20 foot and I can split the difference and patch these up. And yeah, I just need to go back and put extra sod staples down. I don't have very many left, and just sort of put some down in the center the whole way around, or I guess I need to hang on to them so I can use them to patch that. And I was going to do the deer fence today, but the landscaper just came by, and he's got one of them big, huge commercial lawnmowers, and he couldn't fit through this gap. And I left this pretty wide. It's about a 5-foot gap, and he couldn't get through it. I think he's got like a 72-inch mower. So I think what I'm going to do is swing by the hardware store and buy another T-post, maybe another 2. And I'm going to do an angle over here. Rather than have that guy there, I think I'm going to pull it back and put one here and then put one here and just sort of cut this at an angle so that he can get through, and I'll have to do the math and all that and get that figured out. Because I don't want to make his life any harder than it has to be. Well, I had a brain blast and I realized, why don't I just put the gate right there? So that's what we're doing. So I have put T-posts the whole way around. Then I split this corner and I put one right there behind the pump, just so that I have elbow room behind it. And we'll sort of angle out like that. I'd rather it be straight, but I'd rather just not add any more grass over here and just add some behind the pump. And what we're gonna do is find some, I don't know, maybe a 10-foot, 4-foot piece of weld wire, maybe another, I think I might have a spare T-post at home I can bring out. Don't know, because this is kind of wide. That's about 8 foot there. And I don't want a gate that big. So unless I can find, you know, a 10-foot by 6-foot piece of weld wire, I think we're going to have to put like a little 4-foot T-post somewhere in here just so that we have something to tie off to or something. I don't know. I think I might have a spare, but this is what we're going to do for today. And I think I might have enough time, maybe not, to run fishing line from essentially there all the way over to here. And just like that, deer fence is up. Forgot to drive that, so I did that. Now I just got to figure out a gate. What I'm doing for a deer fence is just 30-pound test monofilament. This probably took me about close to 750 yards for a 25 by 50 garden. And yeah, as you can see, it is nearly invisible, which is the point. The point with this is that it's not to keep a determined undulate out. It's just to deter deer from getting where they don't really want to be anyway. It just basically confuses them, irritates them, and they just give up and walk away and go eat something else. So the point is that they can't see it, especially in low light. And you're not supposed to put any flagging on this or anything. I have another garden over there, as you can kind of see, which has a similar setup, but I did put flagging on it because that's supposed to be publicly accessible. And you can't see this thing, and you will walk into it unless for like the first month until you're, used to it. So you can put vertical flagging, I think, which is what I did over there. I just did like white cotton string every 10 foot straight up and down to look kind of more like a fence post. The point is you don't want the deer to know how tall it is, because if you put like a leader on top of it, the deer will know exactly how tall it is and they'll go, oh, I can jump that. Or if you put a leader anywhere else, they'll go, oh, I can see how tall that is, and they'll try and jump it. And if they try and jump it, they will break it because it's 30-pound test and a deer weighs a lot more than 30 pounds. They'll fall on it, break it, get in, and then go raise hell. So what you want to do is just the deer come up to it and they go, oh boy, delicious toxic cotton, and they go, oh god, Jesus, what the, and then they quit. They go, they stick their head under, they hit wire, they stick their head up, they hit wire, there's wire everywhere, and they don't like it, and it's weird, and they can't see it, and they go, I'm weird giant spiders or something, I'm out of here, and they leave. And that's the goal. So I'm gonna try not to put flagging on this. Probably will have to. Yeah, I've never done this before, so I don't know if it's going to work. I have confidence it'll work for the cotton because the deer don't really want what's in here anyway. It's just exactly the same stuff, and the cotton's, not their ideal food. They may bust into my native plant garden. We'll see. One thing I'm probably going to do, which I know is already a problem, is I'm probably going to replace this bottom line here, which I have about 8 inches off the ground. And I have all this at about 8-inch spacing. I'm probably going to replace that with some like 20 gauge or 18 gauge, 14 gauge, whatever gauge electrical wire, just to added resistance to the weed eater and also resistance to rabbits. Because on the other garden over that way, I've had a rabbit or something come in and chew through the line 4 times now. I'm not trying to keep rabbits out. I just, would prefer if they didn't bite through my bottom rung of monofilament. And I'm sure I'm going to hit it with the weed whacker at some point too, or clip it with the mower. So I think I'm going to replace that with steel wire, just for the bottom rung, which isn't going to make a difference as far as the efficacy with deer. It'll just add some, strength to that bottom line. And yeah, we'll hold off on the gate, but that's it for the bed prep. We're ready to go. We can plant anytime. Then once we've got it planted, huck a gate up on there, and that should be good. And then it's just a matter of irrigating it until everything comes up. Man, my hair is all messed up. Anyway, there's the cotton plot. Ready to go. That's it. Just need to stick the seeds in it and hook a gate up on over there. So, yeah, if you want to see the rest of this series, you got to go down there, subscribe to this channel, and I'll be putting out updates every couple of weeks or so whenever something interesting happens. So, yeah, make sure to stick around. More cool things to come. Until next time, Tom out.